Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. I am Heather and I have been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009, which makes my show the original Tudor History Podcast. This channel is where I put all of my episodes from all of my shows, as well as loads of extra content like this video right here. So today we are going to talk about stress and mental health and how the Tudors managed their stress. And we're actually going to see a lot of similarities with things that we do today. So last week was crazy, you guys. This video I did on medieval sleep went viral. It was the first time I've ever had like a viral video. I think there's something, I've lost track of the comments. I'm trying to read them all. I think there's something like 1,000 comments already. It brought in a massive amount of new subscribers. So hi, new subscribers. I got to tell you, it was like so exciting. I think I posted on Monday and it started to take off on Tuesday. And by Wednesday, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this video. This is crazy. Like so many views. Um, and like the stats go along, you as a creator, you have these dashboards where they show you, your daily views and hours watched and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, does its normal thing. And then suddenly Wednesday, and then it went, oh, and it like went off the charts. And I took a lot of screenshots, you guys. I took a lot of screenshots. It was very exciting for me. It was so exciting. I cannot even tell you how excited I am. My daughter Anna on all weekend was on the phone to her friends, and I kept going in and saying, "Hannah, guess how many views it's had now?" And Hannah, guess how many? And I think she got a little bit sick of it after a while, but I was super excited. So I guess the whole point of all of this is thank you to those of you who are new, who discovered me through the medieval sleep video, and welcome. And for those of you who've been around since the very, very beginning, you know who you are, and I know who a lot of you are too. I am so glad that you are also still here, and what a fun journey we're on. It's just fun. So the one thing is I was looking through those comments on the sleep video. One thing I noticed was a lot of people saying things like, oh, this is me. I mean, actually, most of the comments were, this is me. I sleep like this. I thought I was weird, but no, I'm not. And the thing that I realized was it really kind of showed the humanity, the commonality that we have. We sometimes think that people 500 years ago were very different from us, or we think that there's nothing that they can teach us about our lives today because they didn't have cell phones or they didn't have cars or whatever. But some of these human things are timeless, right? And so having sleep issues or not, or, figuring out how to manage your stress, these are all things that humans have always dealt with. So I thought it would be fun to do another kind of humanity video because a lot of times people are up in the middle of the night because they can't sleep because of stress. So I thought, let's look at what the Tudors thought about stress and how they managed their stress. And we will actually, like I said, see a lot of the similar things that we still use today, which shows us that we really aren't all that different. And the one thing I love about history, and very, very early on when I first started dating my husband, he actually asked me what the point of history is. He was a math major and a computer science major, so that all has very practical uses, right? And he was like, what's the point of history? I should say I continue dating him despite the fact that he asked me that. And we've been married for almost 20 years. So that's fun. But I thought it was an interesting question. It made me think, like, what is the point? And I feel like the point of history, and I say this a lot in my podcast, is to understand empathy, right? If we can look at people who are 500 years removed from us and say, gosh, they really aren't that different from us, even though they lived in a different country and they lived 5 centuries before us. If they landed here, they wouldn't understand how we live at all. We can also still look at some of these very core things that make us human and say, you know what, we're not that different. And if we can do that across the span of 500 years, maybe we can do that for people in different countries today from us. Maybe we can do it for people who believe different things than we do today and say, you know what, we might not agree on this, or this, but at our core, we are human and we still have to figure out how to manage our stress, right? So I won't get into all of that, but I do think that that is kind of the point for me of learning history. The practical use is to facilitate these understandings between people and between people who are very different than us, who look very different than us, and for whom we might not think we have a lot in common with, but we actually do because we're all human. So Let's get into it really quick. If you want to see more Tudor history in your YouTube feed, why not go ahead and hit subscribe so you never miss a video that we put out? All right, let us talk about stress. So imagine you're a Tudor living in the 16th century. Life can be pretty stressful. Your family's survival depends on good harvests. If there's too much rain, if there's not enough rain, that can actually literally kill you. There's disease all over the place. The plague is popping up, this new sickness nobody understands, the sweating sickness. And your social status can change overnight just on the whims of a monarch. How did people manage their mental health in a world like that? So the Tudors, even the kings and the queens, were human. They faced grief, loss, anxiety, and stress just like we do. And what's fascinating is, like I said, some of the ways that they coped have survived the test of time, and there's a lot that we can still learn from them today. From herbal teas and music to writing and community gatherings, the Tudors had their own methods for maintaining emotional balance. And today we are going to explore 6 key ways that the Tudors managed their mental health and the surprising ways that some of these practices are still part of our lives. Let's start with one of the simplest yet most enduring methods: herbal remedies. For the Tudors, herbs weren't just for seasoning food, they were the primary medicine cabinet. The apothecary was the go-to for treatments, and many Tudor households would have grown their own herbs in their kitchen gardens, knowing which plants could calm the mind or ease a restless night. Take lavender, for example. Tudor herbalists believed that it had a calming effect on the body and mind, and it was often used to help people relax. Today, we still use lavender essential oils and candles. You can get these pillow sprays that are lavender, all of that, because of its soothing properties. So lavender has stood the test of time. Another popular herb was chamomile. Tudor era records describe its use in teas and poultices to reduce anxiety and promote sleep, just the way we do today. They didn't know about stress hormones or sleep cycles, but they did know about the calming power of chamomile after a rough day. And then there was valerian root. Known for its ability to calm nerves, it was often used to ease tension and promote tranquility. In fact, if you've ever even today taken a natural sleep aid, there's a good chance that valerian was one of the main ingredients. Herbs were also incorporated into rituals and daily life. For example, some people would carry a sprig of rosemary in their pocket, thinking that that would improve their memory and their focus. This is a superstition that actually modern medicine has shown that rosemary helps with cognitive benefits. So there you go. And isn't this something that we can all still relate to today? When life gets overwhelming, a nice cup of chamomile tea or the scent of lavender can be just as comforting now as it was in Tudor times. Now let's talk about one of the Tudors' favorite forms of stress relief, and that was music. Music was all over the place in Tudor England. They didn't have an MP3 player, they didn't have it on their phone, but from court performances to simple tunes played in homes, it was a way to soothe the mind and lift the spirit. And in fact, I did a whole episode on the music of the spheres, was this whole belief that the planets all had notes associated with them. And then when you use that with astrology, you could come up with this whole medicinal thing based on the notes that the planets made as they were spinning. So if you had a headache, for example, they might say that the headache was caused because of the moon being, in the waxing position in the constellation of Leo or something. And that had notes associated with it. And that would give you the chord that you were supposed to be listening to help with your headache. And so I did a whole episode on that. Interestingly, I think it was 2 years ago, I found a post that on the BBC that scientists have actually found using string theory now that the planets actually do emit a sound. There's a pitch that planets make, and these string theorists, this is all beyond what I can understand. But it made the point that the music of the spheres wasn't that far off. Anyway, there was a whole science about music and healing. And like I say, I did an episode on that. And this was something that, was for regular people as well as royalty. Elizabeth was a skilled musician, for example. She played the virginals. Despite all of the pressure of running the kingdom, she often turned to music as a personal escape. Her court was filled with musicians, and she was known to enjoy all of the lively dances that helped her temporarily forget the weight of her responsibility. Henry VIII was also a composer. One of his most famous pieces was Pastime with Good Company. It was kind of the Sabrina Carpenter espresso song that was everywhere this summer. It was like the hit of the summer of, I think it was like 1511 or something like that, Pastime with Good Company. And so he very much valued, music and its role in being able to bring people together. Music also played a therapeutic role for ordinary people too. Work songs helped to ease the monotony of labor. Folk tunes at community gatherings allowed people to bond and share joy even in difficult times. Today, music therapy is a recognized tool for managing stress and improving mental health, and the Tudors understood that power long before modern science caught up. Whether you're blasting your favorite playlist or listening to some classical music to relax, you are following in the footsteps of centuries of music lovers who knew music's ability to heal the soul. Next up, we've got faith and meditation. So, of course, for the Tudors, religion was a cornerstone of life. Daily prayer, attending church, reciting psalms weren't just religious practices, they were opportunities for reflection and for mindfulness. In a world that could be unpredictable and harsh, faith provided structure, comfort, and a sense of purpose. For ordinary people, prayer and church services offered moments of calm in an otherwise quite chaotic world. The rhythm of repeating prayers or meditating on scripture, the familiarity of the liturgy, was really a form of mindfulness, allowing individuals to focus their thoughts and find inner peace. Today, we see parallels in mindfulness practices like meditation and yoga, or even in the simple act of setting aside time to reflect. For example, I personally have several of these practices. I do morning pages every day, which is 3 pages of just longhand writing to kind of get all of the stuff out of your head before you start your day. So I do that every day. My husband's a yoga teacher. So yoga is a part of his life, and we meditate. And we also go to an Episcopalian church. And I find that liturgy quite comforting to kind of like always have these same things that we recite and these words. And it's kind of then allows you to focus on something that's outside of yourself. So whether it's through a religious tradition or a secular practice, the Tudor approach to faith as a mental health tool is one that we can still draw some inspiration from. Then, writing and journaling. I just talked about my morning pages. For a lot of Tudors, writing was an emotional outlet. The Tudors didn't have self-help journals. They weren't doing like morning pages. They didn't have bullet journals or anything like that. But they did find other ways to express their thoughts and their feelings through writing. Letter writing was especially common during this period, and it continued to become more common into the 17th century. It served as both a practical tool and a form of emotional release. For monarchs like Elizabeth, letter writing was a way to process thoughts. It was a world where she couldn't trust that many people. And when you look at the letters to her advisors, there's a lot of careful thought put into every decision. So writing was more than communication. It was a way to process these thoughts as she was writing them out. Henry VIII left letters as well. There was a huge stash of them that was his letters to Anne Boleyn, these love letters that he wrote during their courtship, which, looking back with hindsight of knowing what happened between him and what he did to Anne, it's hard to look and see, these letters of this outpouring of love. At the same time, he does come across as vulnerable and very invested in his emotions. So through his words, we can see how writing allowed him to channel his feelings, whether they were longing or frustration or love. For ordinary Tudors, writing could take the form of chronicling everyday life. We have a number of journals that Tudors started to keep during this time. People like Henry Machen, who was a London merchant, recorded the events of his world in painstaking detail in his diaries. His entries show us how even small moments are worth capturing, and they helped him to make sense of a rapidly changing world. You can actually read Henry Machen's diaries online. I'll put a link in the notes down below. It's pretty neat to read them. They're all on British History Online. And just things like recording what there was for dinner or what the Yuletide celebrations were, things like that, as well as big events, when there was an execution or when there was something major that happened. He would write about that too. And so it's really neat to see just these small moments as well as the big things that seem to help him make sense of this rapidly changing world. And of course we have a few of these, but who knows how many we lost that, didn't survive 500 years. So definitely journaling things down seemed to be a way for people to process things, even more so than in the medieval period. Of course, the rise in literacy made it more possible for people to write things down that maybe hadn't been able to before. So became very popular. And today, journaling is a widely recognized tool for improving mental health. Whether you're jotting down your gratitude list at the end of the day, reflecting on your day, or writing letters that you might never send, this Tudor habit is a timeless way to process your emotions and clear your head. I do recommend morning pages. Gosh, I think I started doing them in 1996. I've got notebooks. Someday my grandchildren will inherit all of my notebooks and they can say, "What was grandma doing when she was 24?" But they don't know that I'd ever show them to my daughter. Well, anyway, um, then there is another mental health strategy, is something that we still value today: connection with others. The Tudors were deeply, deeply social, and community played a significant role in their mental well being. Whether it was a lively gathering at the court, or a neighborhood feast, or storytelling around the hearth, these moments of togetherness offered a reprieve from the stresses of daily life. Storytelling, in particular, was a powerful tool. Through stories, people could share fears and joys and lessons learned, creating bonds that strengthened their sense of belonging. Even monarchs understood the value of communal storytelling, using court performances and masks as both entertainment and a way to foster unity. For ordinary people, gatherings in taverns or markets were about exchanging stories. These shared experiences created a network of support and understanding, much like the modern emphasis on community and mental health. So today we know how important it is to stay connected, whether it's catching up with friends, joining support groups, or sharing laughs over a good story. The Tudors remind us that leaning on others can make challenges a little bit easier to bear. Finally, let's look at something that the Tudors did naturally. We often have to remind ourselves to prioritize today, and that is staying active and spending time outside. Tudor life was physically demanding. Working in the fields, going on the hunt, even dances at court, people were constantly moving. Physical activity was woven into daily life. Hunting, for example, was a form of recreation and stress relief for the nobility. For those who weren't royal, outdoor time came naturally through gardening, walking, or simply working in the fresh air. These activities provided a break from the pressures of daily life and a chance to reconnect with nature. Today, we know that physical activity boosts mood and reduces stress, while spending time in nature has proven health benefits. The Tudors might not have had gym memberships or yoga classes, but they understood the importance of movement and fresh air. I have to say, since getting a dog, I've been spending a lot more time outside, obviously, because we take the dog out to walk the dog. And it's really, really nice to just have this reason, a couple times a day that I have to go outside and breathe fresh air. It's really, really been a very cool thing to have in the wintertime. So, like in the winter, you don't really, I never really went outside that much because it's cold and stuff. But now we have to take the dog out and just get that 10 or 15 minutes a couple times a day makes such a big difference in my life. So I'm a big fan of the whole making yourself go outside thing. If you can't make yourself, maybe adopt a dog and then you'll have a Reese too. So, what can we learn from the Tudors about managing mental health? They didn't have therapists or meditation apps or TikTok wellness trends or anything like that, but they did have their own strategies: soothing herbal remedies, the power of music, faith and reflection, journaling, community, and staying active. What's remarkable is that so many of these practices have endured and they're still just as relevant today as they were 500 years ago. So, the next time you're grabbing your cup of tea and sitting down with your favorite song, or maybe a bit of Debussy for relaxation or something like that, or you're going outside for a walk in the fresh air to clear your head, this is something that is human, and you're tapping into centuries and centuries of wisdom that has come down through the ages and we just take for granted now. So, what do you do? What do you think? Which of these Tudor mental health practices speaks to you the most? I would love to know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you made it this far in the video and you enjoyed it, I sure would appreciate to press that like button. It helps to feed that algorithm and get our content to even more people. Thanks so much for being here. If you want to continue to binge watch Tudor content, here's that episode I did on the music of the spheres, which you might enjoy. And here's a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. Thanks for being here. Remember, you are deeply loved. I am so glad I share the planet with you. And I will be back soon. In the meantime, don't forget to drink your water. All right, friend, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.